gentlemen, and welcome to episode 5 of the Hit Play podcast. I am Isaac Jimenez, joined by James Harding. James, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. It's been a little chilly back in Texas, so it's been kind
Oh
of a
yeah,
nice from the 80 degrees. So
dude, not
yeah,
bad.
we're
We had a
doing pretty
dust
good.
storm yesterday.
Really,
Yeah, that was
I do not miss those at all.
I think they're fun.
I remember my first dust storm. I think you were with me actually. We were at one of the dining halls. Maybe you were with me. I know somebody was with me.
It was
Yeah,
Hacienda.
yeah. So you were with me. Okay, cool. Yeah, I remember. And then I remember going to class the next day and being like, "Yeah, I saw my first dust storm." And one of the professors was like, "We call them haboobs here." I was like, "Oh, I miss my
I hate that
my
word.
overgeneralizing dust storms now, or
It's so
what?"
silly.
Like, it was stupid.
It's just too silly
But
for me.
yeah. Anyways, so getting into our episode today. Today we're gonna be talking about some cartoons and animated shows that kind of both influenced the medium as well as influenced us. Yeah.
Ourselves. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go first. What is one show that you think?
Oh, you want me
Yeah,
to
yeah,
go
yeah. What is
first?
one show that is a big influence?
Okay, one show that was a really big influence on me. Um, hmm. I think there are a lot of obvious shows. I think most people can probably think of particular nautical themed shows that were really influential in our generation. I'm going to go with a bit of a curveball, though. I am going to say that Chowder
Chowder.
was a big influence on
Okay.
myself.
You take the moon and you take the sun.
You take everything that seems like fun.
Do you remember Chowder?
Remember Chowder? I have never seen Chowder. Chowder was that
You've never seen
Chowder was
Chowder?
that generation of cartoons where I stopped watching, like Chowder, Gumball, the regular show. That's like when I stopped.
Regular show, Adventure Time,
Yeah, that's
stuff
when I
like
stopped
that.
watching cartoons.
You missed out, man. You missed out. Chowder. What I loved about Chowder, and what I still love about Chowder, even to this day, is that it was just so, like, oddly self-aware. And I never really got that with other shows when not a lot of other cartoons I was watching had that kind of quality. Like, it was so self-referential and self-aware, but not in a way that, like, made me confused.
Mhm.
It totally just made sense. That was just the humor of the show. It was just such an oddball sense of humor. Like, I remember a specific line where Chowder sets a kitchen on fire, and one of the characters is like, "Great, good job, Chowder. Now the animators got to draw all this fire."
They were breaking the
I remember
fourth
as a
wall.
Yeah, they did that. Like, there was literally one episode where they had a whole bit where they run out of money for animation, and then they cut to the voice actors in real life, like doing a car wash to raise money or something like that. That's just the kind of weird, like, that's kind of sense of humor. I had, like, never seen that before, and it kind of primed me for other shows like, The Office, where they would just stare into the camera and do stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a lot of
Or they would.
that's really Cartoon Network's kind of shtick at that time, right? With all the other shows, like, I mean, I've seen some of what was it, Regular Show and Adventure Time, not too much, but that was their kind of shtick, was like self-aware humor and kind of more. It's still a kids show, but it's more geared towards adults and teens,
Yeah.
where teens can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Would you
Yeah.
say that it has aged well since its run?
I would say it has, because just visually, the actual art style of the show
That 2D animation?
is so different. Yeah, it is so different from everything else that was there at the time, or that is there now, I would say, even. Like, because if you've never seen it, I don't know if you would know this, but what they did for clothing and, like, background designs is they would have a pattern but that pattern would be a background layer. And so as the characters walked, that actual layer would like stay the same. And so you had this really weird effect. If you've never seen footage or video from the show, then it's so difficult to explain. But it had such a like creative visual style. I think it definitely aged very, very well. Especially the humor. A lot of the humor came from just the fact that it was a cartoon. You know, when a character has to clean the kitchen and so they just rip off the background art. I mean, that will be funny in every day and age, I think. That's like Looney Tunes kind of stuff.
The character designs are so iconic too. They're so unique.
Yeah, unique is a big one. A lot of people criticize modern cartoons for being samey, and I appreciate the uniqueness for sure.
Chowder. Oh, maybe I need to go back and watch that. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Cartoon
You just
Network.
find some
So
clips
that'll
on YouTube.
be Paramount Plus, right?
Probably Paramount Plus or HBO Max, one of those two.
Yeah. Yeah, because Cartoon Network is a Viacom
think so.
company.
Yeah, but I think a majority of their stuff went to HBO Max, I want to say. So I would check there first before you give the worst run studio in Hollywood
Some of their money.
any
Paramount
money.
Plus is a waste of money. Kids, don't buy it.
Unless you really want to watch Chowder, in which case, knock yourself out. But I would recommend it. I mean, it does hold up. It's a hilarious show. And that's one of the ways that it influenced me, was that it was just so unique and absurd that I just couldn't help but like kind of take that with me.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing. So I'm looking at some of the clips. I can definitely see what you're saying about the art style and the clothes and stuff, and it does give that weird aesthetic. Anyway, moving on. So
But that's right off the bat,
Chowder?
One
It's a
and
good
done.
starter.
That's a pretty good show, I'd say.
good starter.
Now I'll throw it over to you. How are you gonna follow that up? How could you follow up a show like
How could I
Chowder?
follow up a show like Chowder? How about the grandfather of modern animation? Rugrats, baby.
Rugrats?
Rugrats.
Okay. You've told me you love this show,
Yeah.
and I've been holding this opinion back. What the hell do you love about Rugrats so much?
It's just so innocent. I mean, we're watching life through babies' eyes. And there's this sense of innocence that these babies have that I don't think a lot of shows at the time, especially in animation, especially kids shows, they had, where you're learning life lessons almost every episode
As opposed to like,
through the babies, because the babies are learning those life lessons.
but as opposed to like, Wonder Pets or something like that.
Yeah. Because Wonder Pets is for like,
Toddlers.
yeah, and Rugrats is for kids who are growing up, like 3 or 4 year olds.
Okay, but like, talk about a show that did not age well visually.
No, it's definitely. I went back and watched a couple episodes, especially in that first season.
It's so ugly.
It is, yeah, it's bad.
It's
but
fugly.
just from the content perspective of Rugrats, it has. I mean, it started Nickelodeon, right? It's
Yeah,
the
pretty much.
second ever Nicktoon to premiere
Pretty much.
behind.
Was it Doug?
I think Ren and Stimpy is first, and Doug is after it. So it started this whole channel, and Nickelodeon and even I would say Cartoon Network kind of owe their creation to Rugrats, because Rugrats was also the first kids show that was like a pop icon.
True. Yeah. Probably.
I can't think of any other show. Maybe Scooby-Doo and the
Yeah,
Flintstones, but I
Scooby-Doo or
think
like Bugs
Scooby-Doo
Bunny.
and the Flintstones is more. The audience got older, so they became nostalgic towards it. Whereas, in the time, Rugrats was the thing.
So I'm curious. Did you ever watch All Grown Up?
I watched a couple episodes. Yeah.
Because I remember liking that a bit more than Rugrats, just because it was
Oh,
slightly less creepy.
Yeah, you would probably. I think people would enjoy especially at our
All
age.
grown up.
All
Yeah.
grown up more, just because it's not babies. But I don't know. There's just something innocent about. I like a good quality innocent show, and I think Rugrats was the grandfather of that.
Yeah, I can see that. I think one of my favorite things about Rugrats, even when I didn't really like it, I still was always impressed that every episode they managed to find some like weird adventure. That's actually really difficult to do.
Yeah, and the cast is especially when you're on TV for what 9 seasons,
Yeah.
2 movies.
Dude, the movies, I remember. Dude, did you ever watch, what was it? Did they have the Rugrats and Wild Thornberries? They had a movie where they were together.
I don't remember.
Dude, that was such a good movie. I remember that.
Oh, I think it was the first one.
Oh, yeah?
The first movie.
Dude, shout out to that. And shout out to Rextar as well. The green little dinosaur.
The movies are
All right,
actually
so I'll,
aged pretty well, but yeah,
for sure.
That's Rugrats.
Who is your favorite character? Because everybody always compared me to Chucky. Because I was such a nerd.
I can see
I
that.
still am. but
I
still,
was.
Yeah.
If we're talking just the babies, I think probably Phil, the boy twin,
Oh, yeah.
just because he's so like him and his sister are always getting into arguments.
You related to that?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
no. Yeah, that's
the
pretty
adult,
fun.
I think the grandpa is the funniest one.
Oh, yeah.
How absurd he is, and that's what I like about this show too. Is that the adults are so quirky.
Yeah, it's actually like, they're a really weird cast of characters.
Yeah,
Especially
and it
for a kid
works.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, because we really didn't see a lot of quirky adult characters in adult animation
Outside of,
or in
like-
animation.
Yeah.
So to see,
At least in a
mean,
realistic way.
yeah, where you
'Cause-
could believe that this family
Existed.
existed, and there's still the serious characters like Angelica's mom and Tommy and Dill's mom.
Tommy's mom. Yeah.
Yeah, where they still give that balance, but like Chucky's dad, the grandpa, the brothers, the German grandparents.
Oh, yeah. Or I remember my older sister told me that she loved the Rugrats because she really liked that she had never really seen a big sister character in
And
a cartoon.
Angelica.
Yeah, Angelica, and the same for Wild Thornberries as well. I forgot what the sister's name was, but I think that kind of, I don't know. I was surprised by that because that's such a little thing that I probably wouldn't have thought of, but that's, I guess people just relate to when they see themselves. Not that she was like Angelica at all. I will say that right now. She was not.
Yeah,
Who
Angelica's
was
such
the-
an interesting character too because she's always trying to decept the babies and always trying to get them into trouble.
Yeah.
And
What
it's
I
like,
liked
oh
about
yeah,
the
you're
show,
definitely an older sibling, or like an
And what I
older
liked
sibling
about-
figure.
All Grown Up, what I liked about All Grown Up was that she's not like evil in All Grown Up.
No,
Like she's actually more like their friend.
hmm
That's such a weird, like, but also cool thing for them to do is to, in between the series, actually mature the characters. I really appreciated that.
Yeah,
I
all the
remember-
characters really mature and all grown up. I mean, I remember an episode where some kids are making fun of Phil at like a dance or something, and Lil just gets in their face and is like, "No, this is my brother. You're gonna treat him right." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." It's like this is way different from the baby's version. So
So,
yeah, I like what they went. I like the stance they went, or the direction they went with All Grown Up, which is weird because I don't think All Grown Up. I don't think people liked it as much as.
No, I don't think so. They either
Rugrats.
didn't like it or don't remember it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of sequels to TV series, but I think All Grown Up was a worthy sequel.
Oh yeah, I would agree. I would say so.
I don't think it's as. It's definitely not as culturally significant as Rugrats, but I think it holds its own. Moving
not
on.
bad.
What is
And that same
what's another?
that same studio did a lot of other good shows too, like Rocket Power. I don't know if you ever watched
Rocket
that.
Power, yeah, it's all the same artwork.
Yeah.
The Thornberries too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'll move on. So This is actually going to be a bit of an interesting departure. But I am going to pick an anime. I am going to go with One Piece.
One Piece.
Come aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams.
Did you ever watch One Piece?
So funny enough, I think One Piece at one point, One Piece at one time came out. I think episodes of it came out after Dragon Ball Z, like it bled into One Piece. So I think I ended up catching a couple episodes. I remember when One Piece came on, it was like 4 a.m, and I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta get to bed."
Oh man, yeah.
But yeah, I did stay up to watch a couple minutes of it. I haven't kept up with it. I know it's like one of the biggest
don't
animes of all
bother.
time, right?
Yeah. But I was like super into One Piece, and I actually did get all caught up. And then even when I was in high school, I got all caught up again. I think they were at like 700 episodes by that point.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But what I loved about One Piece, and I think the reason why I liked it over a lot of other shows, was that it was never really serious. It was always goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always silly. Like, because Naruto is cool, but then you have, like, characters dying and stuff like that. That only really happens in flashbacks in One Piece. It was always goofy fun. And this might be weird to say, but I never watched Dragon Ball when I was a kid. So I never cared for it.
That is blasphemy, and I'm gonna be ending the pod right now.
I never watched Dragon Ball as a kid. I don't know why. I guess I could just never get into it. But One Piece was like the best thing ever, pretty much. I love the manga for it as well. But what I loved most about One Piece was the art. Because let me tell you, this dude, Arichiro Oda, is insane. He has, for one person, to come up with so many different characters and have all of them basically be uniquely designed and just playing different from each other is just crazy. It's just like that was one of those things where I was watching the show and I was like, this is super cartoony, but it's just so well done.
He's written all of One Piece?
He's written and drawn all of it, yeah.
Dang. Why are the Japanese so diligent, for lack of a better word? God.
That's probably also something about One Piece that I would say inspired me, was just the idea that, like,
one guy.
yeah, you could just do that as one guy. He
Yeah.
has assistants, obviously, who does some stuff,
Mhm.
but just
I mean,
as
that's a
one
lot of
guy.
It's a lot of the big animes, right? It's just one
Yeah.
guy who writes and draws it.
Pretty much. And then he'll
crazy.
have assistants who, like, will do inking, or they will do lettering and stuff like that, or background art. But, like, seriously, for one guy to do this, it's a lot of pressure. I think he admitted that he gets like 3 or 4 hours of sleep, so I don't know if I would take that with me as influence.
Where can you find One Piece?
Where can you find One Piece? You can find... So, when I was a kid, and it would play on Toonami,
Mm-hmm.
the company that did the dubs for it, that did the English dub,
Funimation?
was not Funimation. It was called 4Kids.
Oh.
4Kids had the licensing, and so they were in control of the dub. And they were notorious for completely recontextualizing entire story arcs and scenes and bits of dialogue. They basically like made the show like not just for kids, but like for idiots is probably better. It was really, really dumb and bad, and it has an amazing theme song. They completely
I've heard
redid the theme song,
Yeah.
but they almost completely just ruined the dub. So when you're looking for the show, it's important that you either watch, if you want to watch it in English, do that from Funimation, because they then took the licensing and they make the English dub. but I don't even recommend that. Just find it in Japanese on like Crunchyroll, or I think even Hulu has some of it.
So are you
Hulu has
saying
some.
the dub is worse than the sub
Yes.
for
Yes,
every
maybe a
anime?
little bit. Not well. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. For that era of anime when we were young, and even the like people who were younger than us, they like the art of making a dub for a show was like nobody knew how to do that really, and so you have these weird, confusing messes of entire dubs for TV shows. Like Sailor Moon, for instance, everyone loves Sailor Moon, but the English dub isn't even like remotely similar to the Japanese dub, the original Japanese show. They made entire character changes basically for the English dub, and then they just edit out entire like storylines. And the same basically happened to One Piece. So it's a weird, confusing mess. Because, like, you want to say you want to watch the, English dub of Sailor Moon, but you're basically not even watching Sailor Moon at that point.
Yeah.
It's so
That's
different
weird.
from the original. And One Piece had the same problem.
It's still running, right?
It's still going.
God.
I even think, I don't know if Toonami is still showing it. If you want, they used to. I don't know if they still are. They're still doing Dragon Ball though, so if you still want to watch Dragon Ball, watch Toonami.
Yeah, Dragon Ball it's a new series.
Oh yeah.
Is the manga still out?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Golly.
He said it has like another 10 years. He
That's
said that like 4 years ago.
So how do they manage to last for that long? I know that's a big thing of anime is keep introducing new arcs. Would you say there at any point there's a low point of the series?
Yeah. The show and the series really is split into like story arcs, which by the way, watching stuff like this, like just anime in general as a kid, you never got that with cartoons.
Yeah.
There was like no like a plot would be for one episode. There was never like story arcs. And I think that's why we all really liked anime when we were kids, because it was just cool and different. But there's definitely low points. Like, oh god, there's one story arc where they have to go to some kingdom in the sky and they fight this guy who can like turn things into gold. And I was like, this is the most boring thing I've ever seen. And then, like the first 100 episodes is like they're meeting the main characters and they're giving them flashbacks, and I'm like, this is the most boring thing I've ever seen.
That's anime, right? Just constant flashbacks.
It's one episode fight scene, 10 episode flashback.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with a lot of the older anime.
But there's definitely really high points. There are definitely high points in the series. And the great thing about One Piece is that it's even influential in a lot of shows that are around today. Like, I know Rebecca Sugar is a big fan of One Piece, and Steven Universe and Adventure Time is filled with like a handful of references, and so it influences the people who influence you, and that's what I like about One Piece.
I mean, One Piece must be pretty big because they have video games. So you want to know if you're a big
That's
show.
your standard.
That's my standard. Make sure if
They
you have a
have
TV
the Guinness
show.
World Record for highest selling comic by a single author, and
Yeah.
your measurement is that it has video games.
I only fit that. I only use that measurement because Dragon Ball and Attack on Titan both have video games. If One Piece has one, it must be pretty good.
Yeah, true. Did you have an anime that you wanted to bring up?
I did actually, and you kind of mentioned it earlier. Dragon Ball. I think Dragon Ball Z specifically.
Dragon Ball Z. Dragon, come.
So, as somebody who doesn't know anything about Dragon Ball, what does that mean?
What does what mean?
Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super.
Oh, so Dragon Ball is the name of the original series, and then the sequel series is Dragon Ball Z. When people talk about Dragon Ball, they usually refer to Dragon Ball Z because that's the one that came over from Japan and became like big stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So this might just show you how much I don't know, but like, what's the plot of Dragon Ball?
So it's about this Saiyan guy. He's an alien race who has to
That's
protect.
Goku, right?
Yeah, he protects Earth. From like an invasion from people who try to destroy it. It's just like a big martial arts fighting series that I'm not explaining it very well, but that's basically what it boils down to is, aliens come to invade Earth and Goku defeats them almost every time.
Almost every
Sometimes he
time.
has help,
Ooh.
but there's like a big colorful cast of characters and
Oh yeah,
it's got
I
so
know
many
some stuff about it.
it's got so many video games and yeah, I think Dragon Ball Z it might be it's definitely one of the more influential animated shows because it
Oh
brought
yeah,
us anime. Like before
More or
anime was a
less.
more niche thing. It's kind of like telenovelas in Spanish Spanish countries.
Mm.
And so what anime did was it brought it to the West and it made it kids were like, "Oh my god, we've never seen this before."
Yeah.
And so now I mean, I don't want to say Dragon Ball is the sole reason for why we have English dubs, but it definitely helped to popularize the genre as a whole.
I'll say this from what I've heard in the few episodes of Dragon Ball I have seen, I think it helped popularize a higher quality of dubs for a lot of popular shows.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, because
As opposed to like smaller shows, everyone talks about, like Cowboy Bebop has an amazing dub, but like kids weren't watching that.
yeah, it definitely helps too because Funimation constantly redubbed their episodes. So they kind of had to have that high quality to them.
Mm.
And it also helps that the voice actors, especially the main two voice actors for Goku and Vegeta, they actually
Yeah.
really, really love Goku and Vegeta.
Dude,
Like
I've
they're
seen
always at every Comic-Con where
That's
Dragon
amazing.
Ball is a feature.
Yeah, that's
So-
so great. Dude, have you seen footage of them in the booth when they're recording?
I think
They're
Steven
just like
Savitt is his name. He's like screaming
Yeah.
his head off.
he's just screaming his head off, yeah. Doing his
Yeah,
little
it's crazy.
power up.
Well, yeah, I remember I got into Dragon Ball because it came on later at night on Adult Swim.
Mm.
So after I would watch my cartoons on the weekends, it'd be like the first thing that came on was Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh.
I
I've
had the
actually
opposite
never
one.
watched the whole series
No,
at once. Like, or not at once, but
like the whole way through.
yeah, it's always been random episodes. I got
Mm.
the gist of this arc of the series through the
Yeah.
video games, which is another thing that I think which I'm kind of saying that I'm like not a real fan, but I'm a real fan because I still watched it. But I think that's another thing that has helped it it's become a mainstay in cultural in the mainstream is because of we constantly get a new video game every 2 years.
It just has more media.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just the show.
And it sells really well. I mean, even in some parts, I was reading that during its American run, when it first premiered, that it actually outperformed Friends and
Ooh, wow.
X-Files in some parts of the
Seriously?
country. Yeah,
That's crazy.
on the ratings. So that's,
I had no idea.
I mean, it's real big in Mexico. So I could see like the
Mm.
southern United States being more inclined to liking Dragon Ball Z. It is a big thing. I know people, now that we have Super and GT, or we have Super now,
Yeah.
there was Dragon Ball Kai that came out. Like people were kind of like, was it really ever that big? But it was. I
big.
remember Dragon Ball Super. There was when they went on hiatus, there was a final episode, and there were theaters in Mexico advertising it like it was a boxing match for that final fight,
That's amazing.
and they were selling tickets to go watch it in theaters, and like it was like a big thing.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
I think Dragon Ball
Jeez.
Z is definitely one of the biggest influencers in the modern animation.
That'd be like if theaters in America had like the Battle of the Bastards fight from Game of Thrones in theaters. And it was the previously highest selling comic by a single author in the world before One Piece took it
Before
over.
One Piece, yeah. Yeah. I think Dragon Ball Z and One Piece definitely go hand in hand because they came out in America around the same time.
Oh,
So
yeah,
they're
for sure.
definitely like 1A, 1B as far as their influence on the medium.
Now, I will say this, and this is going to be really, really weird, despite the fact that I haven't really ever seen Dragon Ball. I think if people wanted to watch it, they came out with a new series that was like Dragon Ball Z, but it was like an edited version of it. Like they almost completely redubbed the entire show.
Dragon Ball Z Kai, yeah.
Dragon Ball Z Kai, is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing some of that on Toonami in the 2006s or so. Or
Yeah, that version is weird because
that was like 2017,
it
I
is
think.
re-edited and redubbed where it's fits more. Because, anime, it's like, we'll sit here and watch you guys look at each other for 20
Yeah.
minutes. So Kai kind of edited that down to where it's
Yeah.
more conventional TV. But the problem that I have with Kai is the composer. They didn't bring back the original composer, and some of the lines just don't fit as right compared to the original Z. But I mean, if you want to get into Dragon Ball, I would definitely recommend Kai
Yeah.
as kind of your, just because it's a shorter. It's not as anime-y, if that's a word.
We'll make it a word. I remember seeing a
This is our show, we do whatever we
crazy fact that was like the first fight between Goku and Vegeta at the very beginning of the show.
Yeah, it was like 10 episodes or something like that.
Yeah, in the original Dragon Ball Z, it was such a long fight. I remember somebody said that you could fit the entirety of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like it was that many episodes. And then in Kai, it's like 10 episodes.
Yeah, they cut it down a lot.
That's how much editing they had to do for the original show, which is ridiculous. How we ever watched that as a kid, I have no idea.
291 episodes
Yeah, how we
across
ever
9
stomached that.
seasons.
But while we're talking about Adult Swim, when I was a kid, there was a particular show I watched on Adult Swim that was a big influence on me.
Go for it. What is it?
Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Aqua Teen Hunger. This was another show when it came on. I was like, damn, I really need to get to bed. It was
It
like
can make you
Dragon
feel
Ball
that
Z.
way.
It was like Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, and then as soon as Aqua Teen Hunger Force, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble. I need to go to bed.
It is such a weird show.
It is super weird. So for people who maybe don't know, it's the one with, it's the burger, the fries, and the shake, right?
Yeah, it's Meatwad, Frylock, and Master Shake. I think is his name.
The meatball. Okay, not the burger.
Meatwad. But well, I think when I was a kid, here's the thing. Cartoon Network shows were like absurd.
Yeah.
They didn't make any sense, but in a weird way, they did make sense. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the conceit of Chowder doesn't really make any sense. What do you mean? It's a bunch of weird looking characters named after food going on misadventures. But in a weird way, it makes sense. But then I saw Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
Even the name doesn't make any sense. Aqua Teen Hunger Force? What is that even?
Like this is absurd. Like Cartoon Network shows are absurd, but they in a weird way make sense. Aqua Teen Hunger Force was absurd and it didn't make any sense. And it took me a while because I was like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense. And then it took me a while. That's the point. It's not supposed to. And that was really when it clicked for me, I think. Was that I was like, oh, it's absurd just for the sake of being absurd.
But it really showed what we could do in animation, right? Okay, we could be different.
In terms
we
of
didn't
just
have to
how
have.
different you could be.
We didn't have to be like, content-wise, it didn't really do much for that. But just having a meatball, a drink, and a fry talk and get up to
Do weird
misdeeds.
things. Yeah.
It influenced a lot of shows and showing that what we
And I
can
know
do with
for a lot
animation.
of people, it was like they would see it and they'd be like, this is absurd and it doesn't make any sense. And they would just leave it at that. But for me, it was like, well, that's interesting. I have never, like, you can do this. You can just be weird and out there and absurd. And, you know, they'll put that on air. Really?
It was a big hit.
Like,
That was the crazy
you can
thing, too,
literally
was
have
people were
no
actually
plot
into it.
whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, people were actually into it. It was just characters standing around doing nothing for 22 minutes at a
11
time.
minutes. No,
11 minutes.
It was 11 minutes.
11 minutes, my bad. Yeah, I
Short
forgot.
episodes.
Yeah. Because they would do back to
Short-
back, right? They would do 2 episodes
Yeah.
back to back. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, as time went on, they would just change the name of the show.
Yeah, I do remember that too, yeah.
They changed, like, every season they changed the name of the show. I'm like, what the heck is going on here, you guys?
Aqua something, whatever.
Yeah.
So absurd.
It's so weird and out there. But it was that and a lot of the other Adult Swim shows like Metalocalypse, where I was like, what the heck is going on here? I remember that. Tom Goes for Mayor. I remember Moral Oral. Just these weird ass shows that they would air.
Would you say
And
that
I'm
this show, like the way Rugrats brought up Nickelodeon, would you say the same for Aqua Teen Hunger Force and Adult Swim?
I don't know. It was definitely a flagship show for a while.
Yeah, because it came around, so premiered at around the same time that Adult Swim launched.
Yeah. Because the characters were based off of characters from a previous Adult Swim show, Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Mhm.
So it was definitely one of their earliest shows, and it's definitely one of their longest running original shows. But it's tough to say because from the beginning, Adult Swim was always just willing to be weird and out there.
Adult Swim was the bastard child to Cartoon Network.
Yeah, and I think that it was Aqua Teen's willingness to forgo all conventions of television that really just made it stay. I mean, once they started changing the name every season, I think people were like, okay, this is a bit too much. That was really just why I was so entranced by it, and I would stay up to watch it, was because I was like,
It's so weird.
is this what adults are supposed to watch? Everyone I know hates this. I love this. What's going on?
Turns out
Have you ever
Adult
heard how
Swim
it got
doesn't actually
canceled?
mean Adult Swim. It means kids
Yeah.
14 to 17.
Yeah, pretty much. That
Yeah,
kind of
I would
sense of
say-
humor, yeah.
I think that show helped Adult Swim get off its feet with its absurdity because it brought eyes to the network. But I mean, Futurama and Family Guy really made Adult Swim, right?
Yeah.
So I think it kind of laid the foundation for those two blockbusters.
Maybe because I liked it as a kid, I've just grown up to be the kind of person who appreciates that really weird and out there kind of absurd humor.
Yeah.
Like, even other Adult Swim shows that I know other people are like completely repulsed by, like Metalocalypse or Super Jail and stuff like that, I've always kind of liked and even appreciated those shows. That's just the kind of thing that it's... Aqua Teen Hunger Force is what people who don't know anything about cartoons think that children's TV is like. Just random characters sitting around doing dumb stuff. You know?
What are I remember my mom always told me, like, as soon as that because you remember how back in the day Adult Swim, it was literally, they had like a 10-second intro of the lifeguard.
Yeah.
I remember my mom was like, every time that comes on, you have to turn off the TV. I was like, yeah, of course. And I would still be like,
Yeah, Aqua Teen Hunger Force is what my mom thought Ed and Eddie was.
yeah.
Did you ever hear how Aqua Teen Hunger Force got canceled?
No.
So, back in the early days of Adult Swim, they wanted to do some promotion for the channel. So, they created these neon signs for 2 characters from
Oh, is this
Aqua
the
Teen Hunger Force.
the Boston bomb scare?
Yeah. They
Yeah,
put
okay,
these
okay, go ahead.
neon signs around Boston and a handful of other cities, I think, but it was mainly Boston. And it was just to be like, here are cool characters from these shows. Where are they from? Oh, they're from Aqua Teen Hunger Force on Adult Swim. Go and watch it. But people saw these and called the police
Freaked
and
out.
thought they were bombs
Yeah.
set up around the city. And I think it was Adult Swim, or maybe it was like Viacom or something like that ended up getting sued for it. And basically there was that whole legal battle about it. It kind of was just embarrassing for them.
Yeah,
But
so
then
the creators actually
the
faced
creators-
charges.
Made an episode. Yes, they faced charges for it, but then they made an episode about it. Their special like 200th or 100th episode. They made the plot for the episode was them basically making fun of the fact that people thought these signs were bombs. But it doesn't stop
As
there.
one does.
The actual president of, maybe it was Cartoon Network or maybe it was Viacom at the time, was like, if that episode ever airs, I'm canceling the show. And so they made this episode, but they never released it. And it was known that that was the episode. It was known that that was the 100th episode and that was the plot.
Mm-hmm.
But it was never shown on the internet. Or on television, for that matter, actually. So it was just kind of like this weird lost, like, oh, you'll never get to see it.
Yeah.
And then a YouTuber who did like video essays about cartoons did an episode on Aqua Teen Hunger Force and was like, hey, if you guys are interested, that 100th episode is actually on YouTube. There's a rip of it on YouTube that has like 100, 200 views.
Oh,
Nobody
what
has
a
seen this, but it's
snitch.
been on YouTube the entire time. And he pointed this out, and then like a week later, the show was canceled.
I did read about. I
That's-
do remember reading about this. Yeah,
I was like, that's hilarious.
that's so. I mean, look,
At least they stuck to
you
their
gotta.
word. They canceled
you
the
gotta
show.
give the. You gotta give. It says Turner.
Oh yeah, it was Turner. That's what it was. It
Yeah.
was time.
So I guess you gotta give Turner the props on sticking to their word. That's crazy though, because they did that stunt in 2007.
Yeah. And then in like 2016,
The show was canceled
someone
in
pointed out-
2015.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So 8 years later.
What can you do?
Yeah, this was apparently a very big thing. I mean, I can
Oh,
see
yeah.
why, we're only 6 years removed at that point from 9/11.
Yeah, pretty much.
So any
that
kind
was really
of-
the big issue with it. Yeah.
Any kind of public nuisance
stunt
like
like
that.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I could see why people were on edge. But I mean, that's Adult Swim's thing too, is always pushing the envelope. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, we see it with Family Guy a lot, where every time there's controversy with the show, they always double dip into it.
Yeah. Them and like South Park, they do that. all the
Yeah,
time.
South Park especially. Yeah, so I'm reading up on it right now. The general manager of Cartoon Network actually stepped down.
Really?
Yeah, and Turner had to pay,
Wow.
or didn't have to pay, but Turner paid Boston Police Department $1 million.
Jesus.
$2 million. Holy crap.
And all it took was for one YouTuber to be like, "Hey, by the way, here's that episode."
What a snitch. I wonder if it's still up.
No, I don't think it is.
Huh. Yeah, I would imagine Turner would be on that real quick. I wonder how it leaked. It must have been one of the creators, right?
I have absolutely. That's actually a really good question. I have no idea.
Do you think that the creators are that, like their balls are that big where they would do it? I could see it.
Honestly, maybe.
Because at
I can
that
see
point,
it.
they're, 14 years in, 15 years in?
Yeah.
So, like,
The-
do they have a lot to... And maybe they saw the writing on the wall where the show was going to end anyways pretty soon.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's just go out on our terms.
Maybe. But I remember because when I watched it, it still only had like 1,000 views. So you would think that it wouldn't really like be noticed by anyone at that point.
All it takes is the right intern to look it up, right?
True. Yeah. True.
That's a job opportunity.
The real snitch was whoever DM'd Time Warner on Twitter and said, "Hey, by the way, your thing is on
God,
YouTube."
why can't we just enjoy things? I say that like I'm a big fan of Awkward Teen Hunger Force.
It's a hard show to enjoy, that's for sure. But I mean, that was just really the whole weird, absurd humor that was so different from everything else. That was like, I still feel like that's kind of inspired me to this day, really.
So, the series finale had no advertisement.
Well, that's good.
That's crazy. No, that's crazy. That just means that they wanted to kill their show.
At least they got away with it. I think South Park has been trying to get itself canceled for like a decade now.
All right, moving on.
All right.
So
I don't know if you have another Adult Swim show or something,
I don't have
yeah.
another an Adult Swim show. This one is actually a very older show. Scooby-Doo.
Where are you? We got some work to do now. Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Okay, but which version of Scooby-Doo?
The show as a whole, I guess.
Okay.
I
Not
grew up
specifically,
watching
like,
the
Where Are You?
what is it? What's New Scooby-Doo? I remember that version the most.
What's New Scooby-Doo? I remember
But
that
I would
version, yeah. That was a
I
good
would say
version.
Scooby-Doo as a whole has been incredibly influential in animation in general.
I'll say this about Scooby-Doo, and something I never really thought about when I was a kid at all. I never realized how old the show was.
It came out in 1969.
Because Cartoon Network would replay old episodes of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
And you would think it was like, oh, it came out in the 80s or something. No, it came out in the
Not
60s.
even that. I just never thought about it as being like an old
Yeah.
show. And so it was always really surprising.
Because I think the animation has surprisingly aged well. I'm not going to say it's like aged terrifically. Yeah. It's definitely showing its age. But I think if you came out with the show, if you said this show came out in the 90s, I think people would believe you.
And talk about the show that's never run out of ideas.
Yeah,
either.
that's absurd. From we're getting a new series, I think next year, 2022, later this year, something like that.
Jesus.
So from 1969 to 2022, we've had numerous iterations of characters. We've had live action iterations of the characters.
Okay, well, we don't have to talk about the live action iterations.
Whoa, you got a problem with the films?
Yeah, they're not good.
I mean, I don't think anybody's expecting them to be Citizen Kane.
No, they're not even good, like in a bad way.
Oh man, this is where we just. How do you not enjoy the Scooby-Doo movies, especially that first one?
Okay, the second one is way more enjoyable than the first one.
What?
At the very least. The one where they go to the island? That's the second one, right?
No, that's the first one.
That's the first one?
Yeah.
Then what's the second one?
The second one is when all the monsters escape.
I always thought that was the second one, and the first one was
No.
when all the monsters escaped.
No, you had them flipped.
Oh, okay. Well, then yes, the first one is the better one.
Yeah, no, I
But
agree
it's
with
like lesser of two evils.
that. Yeah, Scooby-Doo. It kind of animation at this time was, I think, the Flintstones and the Jetsons, where it was just
Hanna-Barbera.
shows about we were just watching characters go about their daily lives. Scooby-Doo kind of introduced that character-based procedural.
Yeah, it was
where-
like a genre, pretty much.
Yeah, there's like a specific
horror.
task at hand. And I think really as a whole, it's the prototype for character-driven procedurals in general, in animation and live action.
Ooh, that's an interesting
I mean,
claim.
Buffy, I would say Buffy the Vampire Slayer is very heavily influenced by Scooby-Doo. I mean, they even call themselves the Scooby Gang.
Scooby-Doo forever ruined the idea of splitting up a party of people.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that was just Fred trying to get
Along with Daphne.
Yeah, that's just Fred.
Man.
Yeah, I think Scooby-Doo, and it's also become such an iconic show, right? It's
Like
probably
an
one
iconic
of the,
brand on its own.
it's one of the most, I would argue, the most iconic ensemble group of characters.
Oh, yeah,
And
true.
animation for sure. Live action, Probably. I can't. Trying to think off the top of my head.
The Avengers.
Oh, we're talking TV. Okay, we're talking TV.
Oh, okay.
I don't like how you're bad mouthing Scooby Doo. First, you bad mouth Rugrats.
No,
Now
I'm
you're
not bad mouthing
Scooby
Scooby-Doo.
Doo.
I'm not bad. Okay, I'll say this: 2 things about Scooby-Doo that I think make it amazing. I think each iteration for the show to last as long as it has, and for each different series in the show. One of the things I love about Scooby-Doo is that for every time it has a new iteration, the crew behind the show, the actual people making it, it's always people who love Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And so you always get this like incredibly well crafted like passion project by these people. Because it's never turned into like, you know, one of those things where it's like, oh God, now we have to get more Scooby-Doo.
Simpsons.
Yeah, Simpsons. It's never had that problem. It's always, whether it's Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? What's New Scooby-Doo? Mystery Incorporated. It's always just been like fresh.
And and a lot of that is because it ages with the time. You know, a lot of shows will be stuck in their ways,
Yeah.
whereas Scooby Doo kind of implements-
Modernizes itself.
Yeah. I
stories.
remember I was watching an episode of What's New Scooby Doo, the one that came out in early 2000s,
Yeah.
and they had a GPS, and that was at the time when
Ooh,
GPSs
fancy.
were like, yeah, the fancy thing, right? And now everybody has a smartphone.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you won't see anything like that in the and I mean, this is a very small, but it still sticks out because that's an example of aging with your audience, and that's what it's allowed, I think, it to have such a big commercial success and to be in the mainstream for so long.
Well, I just think not only that, but actually the way they tell their stories have modernized. They're not just
that as well,
still
yeah.
doing the same, you know, like they're giving the show now actual story arcs. Like Mystery Incorporated is like one big story arc.
Yeah, and even some of the films, like I remember the vampire film came out in the era of grunge, so the band is a grunge band.
Okay, here's the second thing I have to say about Scooby-Doo and why it's amazing. The movies. Very
Animated
few
or live
shows,
action?
I think... Shut up about the live action movies. Very few shows, I think, do movie versions of themselves very well. But I think Scooby-Doo does.
Yeah, because the films feel like episodes of the show.
Yeah.
It's just longer runtimes.
Yeah. And, I mean, the only other example I could think of would be like the SpongeBob movie, the original one.
The one with David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But outside of that,
Yeah.
I mean, like, Scooby-Doo is, like, the only show that even remotely does that well.
And they never feel like it never felt like a cash grab.
No, it didn't.
I could
Even though it
older. I
probably
mean, I'm
was.
speaking about the older animated films because those are the
Yeah.
only ones I watched. But
Dude, what you know
you
about
always
Scooby-Doo and the Zombie Island?
yeah.
What you
always
know
feel...
about Scooby-Doo and Cyberchase? Or whatever it's called.
It always felt like there was actually the same passion was in the show that was in the movie.
Movies.
Because you know, a lot of these shows that come out with movies, it feels like a cash grab.
It's an obvious cash grab. I have no
Yeah.
doubt the Scooby-Doo
Yeah.
movies are cash grabs. But
But there's still that passion behind them.
yeah, there's still a Scooby-Doo spirit.
The comedy,
man.
it's so funny too. I was watching What's New Scooby-Doo. It's still funny.
Yeah.
Like,
It
I'm
is a
not,
pretty
I'm
funny
not,
show.
you know, I'm not sitting on my, you know, I'm not laughing on the floor, rolling around or anything like that. But it got a couple chuckles out of me. I was pretty surprised for a show that's, what, almost 20 years old,
Yeah.
to still make me laugh like that. I was very surprised. So
No, Scooby-Doo,
I also
think-
like just a quick shout out to the guy who does the live action Shaggy. He still voices Matthew Lillard. He still voices
Yeah,
Shaggy
Matthew.
in all the shows.
Oh,
He's
really?
probably he's, I think ever since 2000, whenever the film came out, every iteration of Scooby-Doo after that, he's done Shaggy.
Wow, really? That's amazing.
I think.
That'd be pretty cool
So-
if he has. I think and I know Grey Delise does Daphne in like every single iteration.
Except for he did not do the film, the new film that came out, Scoob. Because I remember a lot of people were upset by that.
Talk about a cash grab. That was.
That's what I'm talking. That's the exact what we're talking about.
There was no Scooby-Doo spirit in that. There was Scrappy-Doo spirit in that, but there was no Scooby-Doo spirit. That's for sure.
So yeah, I remember everybody was upset about Scoob.
I don't know. Besides, we already had a pup named Scooby-Doo. What do we need a movie for?
Cash grab. That's why.
Oh yeah. Hell no.
So yeah, Scooby-Doo. Anyways, moving on.
Dude, Scooby-Doo. That's a actually good pick. I was gonna say that, but I didn't really know what to say. But I'm glad you did, because then I found things to say. All right. As we are nearing towards the end, I think it's time to talk about the big kahuna of Hanahuna.
Are you talking about the Jetsons?
Yes.
We talking about
I'm talking about the person who lives in the pineapple under the sea.
Oh, you're talking about Franklin.
Yeah, Franklin. I'm talking about Arthur, actually. I never watched Arthur as a kid, actually.
It's a turtle, right?
Yeah. No, that
Oh
was
no,
Franklin.
that's the rat.
Arthur's the anteater.
Oh, he's an anteater?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
shoot. I didn't
isn't
know
he? No, is he an aardvark or an anteater?
that. I thought he was a rat.
What? How do you think that?
Shows you how much I know about TV. Anyways, Pineapple Under the Sea.
The big dick show itself, SpongeBob.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Absorbent and yellow and porous is he.
The definitive show, especially for kids, of the 2010s, of the
Oh, yeah.
2000s, and arguably the 2010s.
Probably, yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. God, where do you even start?
You can start in 1999.
That was when it started. That is correct. Oh, God. What I love about SpongeBob, and over the years, it's been one of those things where it's like, yes, I grew up for it, so I like it and appreciate it, but like, it has aged so well.
Especially those older episodes.
Those older episodes, everybody always talks about like the first 3 seasons being like the best of SpongeBob. So that's probably the majority of what we're going to talk about. But it's aged. It has aged so well, so beautifully. It is hilarious to this day. I know 1 or 2 people who say that SpongeBob hasn't aged well and that's not funny anymore. But I don't feel that way.
I would disagree with that
Yeah.
bigly.
I think, oh God, it's so hard to like even know where to start talking about it.
I mean, you want to talk about Rugrats, starting Nickelodeon. SpongeBob brought Nickelodeon.
It's pinnacle. That is like a big flagship series, is what it basically became, was the flagship show for Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah. If you go to they don't have it anymore, but the Nick Hotel, SpongeBob is everywhere.
The Nick Hotel. I don't know why that's so funny, but that is. I remember seeing ads for that on commercials.
I went there one time. It was not as good as maybe because I was
Commercials,
like 15 at the time, so
Oh, well,
I was kind of like not into it. But
You're not in the demographic anymore.
I also was not impressed. But
I
anyways,
know.
back to SpongeBob.
One of the things I love about SpongeBob is so many TV shows try to have like a really childish sense of humor. They try to be like gross, or they try to be like weirdly like, hey kids, oh, don't you know my like iPhone? Don't you know, like they try to be like weirdly modern in that kind of way.
SpongeBob has not done that at all.
SpongeBob's sense of humor is like just straight deadpan comedy, and I don't even think there's like another cartoon outside of maybe like a regular show that has really done that. It has like that. SpongeBob has like the dry. This is gonna be pretty pun intended when I say this. It has probably the driest sense of humor of any TV show.
And I think that's a lot why it's aged so well, right? Because
Yeah.
shows like I don't want to compare SpongeBob to Family Guy, but the reason why I think Family Guy doesn't age quite as well as SpongeBob maybe is because the kind of comedy that Family Guy does ages with the time. Whereas
Yeah.
SpongeBob has always had that same kind of level of comedy. It's gotten a little more eccentric, especially in the modern, especially in this past decade.
Yeah.
But there's still that base of deadpan comedy, like you said. And I think that's definitely given the show its
Staying power.
rewatchability, especially for people like us who are still we're in our younger 20s. We're
Yeah.
talking about SpongeBob.
We're still fangirling over SpongeBob.
Yeah.
But I would even compare it to like other cartoons at the time, like Fairly Odd Parents, where the humor was just built around absurdity and funniness Yes, the humor was supposed to be funny. Ha ha ha. It was built more around like weird cartoonish elements, where I feel like SpongeBob was more built around just like straight up deadpan.
Based off the characters, right? It's
Yeah.
how the characters interact with one another and not what's going on around them. And you want to talk about iconic television. The SpongeBob has some of the most iconic episodes in animation. I mean,
yeah.
it would be very hard pressed to find somebody who can't name 10 episodes off the top of their head of SpongeBob. Because
Or
it is
not even that,
it
but
is
just people
so
who just don't get the
ingrained.
references. Yeah.
Even if they don't know the title of the episode, if you were to say, "Hey, do you remember that episode where SpongeBob finds the curse word?" and people would be like, "Oh yeah," or "Do you remember the episode where SpongeBob tried to lift weights like Larry?" Like, "Oh yeah," like people know, right? And you could, I mean, it'd be very hard to find 10 people who don't know 10 episodes. You'd probably have to talk to like babies.
That reminds me of a meme I saw. You've probably seen this, where it's like my parents in their 20s, and it's like, we should buy a house and have kids. And it's like me in my 20s. Haha, that's like this one episode of SpongeBob. I'm like, yep, pretty much.
Yeah, and also it kind of does deal with some themes, right? Like SpongeBob is always failing his
Boating
driver's
school.
test.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of we deal with that theme of never giving up, and there's themes of friendship and working hard, even though Mr. Krabs is a cheapskate.
Oh my god.
There's a theme of family too.
Yes,
in some
SpongeBob
episodes.
and Mr. Krabs sent the anti-capitalist sentiment in millions of communists across America.
Yeah, I was surprised that there's a lot of controversy surrounding SpongeBob. There's like 3 paragraphs worth of it on their Wikipedia page. It's
Jesus
kind of
Christ.
ridiculous.
Jeez.
People were saying that it promotes diversity and tolerance, and like,
And
what?
That's a bad thing. Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
want
I know,
our
right?
diversity or tolerance.
They say that SpongeBob and Squidward are homosexuals. It's like, who cares? Like, it's a kids show.
Yeah, seriously. Oh man, that's so dumb. What's funny too is that the guy who created the show, Steven Hillenberg, he was a marine biologist, which I appreciate
Yeah,
because my
yeah,
dad
yeah.
was a marine biologist.
That's where he got a lot of his inspiration, right?
Yeah, and I remember people were like, "So is SpongeBob gay?" And he's like, "He's a sponge. They don't have gender or sexuality at all. What are you talking about?"
So then, how does he have parents? Ooh. No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh, they reproduce through budding.
Yeah, it's really weird how much controversy SpongeBob has, but
Probably just because it was so popular.
yeah, I
Honestly.
think that's what it was mainly. It's been promoting left-wing politics and negative portrayal of big business. It's like
Oh,
Mr.
no.
Krabs is a cheapskate.
So ridiculous. But God, no, SpongeBob. Just what I love about the show too is that they do this thing so well. The style of the formula for their episodes and for their plots, I think they did something that I think is just brilliant. They don't really do like, a first, a second, or a middle act. Like a first, a middle, and a third act. But they do this like weird escalation thing where their stories just progressively get like more and more absurd until the end, where things just resolve themselves. And I think that's just so brilliant, and that's part of why it's the staying power and the memorability of so many of these episodes is because it's like, I remember the episode where, they'll be like, oh, they killed the health inspector, but then they try to like bury him, and then they try to like
Uh-huh.
convince the cops that they didn't do it. It's like they do this thing so perfectly, where it's just one thing, one plot point always perfectly feeds into the next. And that's not many shows do that. Like,
To have that high level of quality for so many years.
well, I think the reason they do it is because they're so dry, deadpan, and almost cynical about it that they were like, this doesn't have to make any sense. Who cares? Like, what do you mean the fridge in the Krusty Krab will be a time machine? Who cares? I remember seeing a YouTube series where somebody went through like every episode of SpongeBob and did a review for every episode. And I remember one of the things he said, he was like,
Jeez.
I know, seriously. And he was like, what's interesting is that they don't care at all about continuity. They don't care at all about continuity. If it makes
just
the joke funny, they do it.
Yeah, I remember seeing a lot of that. People had problems with the continuity of the show, but in a way that kind of helps it because it's so absurd. So having that uncontinuity.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the 2 spin-off series that are apparently in development?
Well, considering this is the first I've heard of them,
This is a live take, ladies and gentlemen.
live take. Well, what are the spin-offs? What's it going to be?
So one's gonna be based on Squidward, and one is gonna be called the Patrick Star Show.
Oh God. Do you remember Planet Sheen?
This is a trick question.
Sheen from Jimmy Neutron got his own spin-off show.
I remember
Planet Sheen.
I remember Planet Sheen. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
I think it didn't even last a season, right?
I have no idea, honestly.
I think it got canceled halfway through because I remember watching some episodes, and even then I was like, "This is
not
is
Jimmy
not good.
Neutron."
Yeah." So 26 episodes, Planet Sheen had.
Here's the problem I have, and this is just my personal opinion. Spin-off shows don't usually work because the point of a side character is to support the main character.
Yep.
If you're going to take that side character and put them in their own series, who's going to support them? They have to be able to live up to what that person did in the original series, which usually they can't do because they don't have that precedent. So,
Depth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of problems. You even see that in live action shows too. Like the one I'm thinking off the top of my head is the one about Joey from Friends. That failed.
Yeah.
Trying to think of others off the top of my head. But yeah. I don't think
I can think of ones that have done it successfully, but they usually never work.
If anything, they're gonna be probably Paramount Plus shows. I would be very, very surprised if they put it on the main Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, they're probably going to be random ass. They'll put them on streaming because then they know they can do a season at once and ignore the ratings for it.
Yeah, you can always hide the ratings, right?
Yeah,
and renew whatever you want.
That's probably why they're going to do that.
That's what
No, I don't
Netflix
think
does.
they're going to do. Here's when I think a spin-off show would work is if it was like a tertiary character who was at least somewhat interesting. Like if Sandy got her own spin-off show, I'd watch that because then there's no real there's a chance to give depth to that character,
Yeah, we saw it with
Saul in Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul. We saw it with Buffy. Angel.
Angel, yeah.
Angel got his own show and it was very successful. It wasn't quite as big as Buffy, but it was still went on for a while. And also had the chick, I'm forgetting her name.
I think that's sort of Supernatural is one thing. I've never seen Buffy in my life. Anyway, wait, I've seen one episode. Anyway,
You've never seen Buffy?
I've seen one episode.
Whoa. I'm on season 3.
No, I don't think the spin-offs are a good idea.
No, I agree with that. I think.
And here's what I say about the original SpongeBob that I love. And I think part of the reason why people hate the new SpongeBob, even though it's a bit of a meme to hate it, I think this is a valid criticism, is to say that the characters in the original show just had better chemistry and played. They were just written to play off each other more natural way.
So a lot of the criticism that I've seen from it is that the characters, especially Squidward, kind of gets along with SpongeBob now. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just something I read.
Mm.
Squidward is supposed to be that foil to SpongeBob.
Foil. Ooh, bringing back a English class. Literary devices.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, and I don't know. It's hard to criticize. For me, it's hard to criticize the news stuff from SpongeBob. That's why I say it's a meme, because everybody will criticize it. But I'm like, you guys don't even watch it. What are you gonna criticize it for?
Yeah. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, "Oh, the old stuff is trash," or the new stuff is trash, because I haven't kept up with it since I was like 12.
Yeah.
So
I can definitely say that when I was a kid and I was watching the quote unquote new stuff, the post movie stuff, I was like, this isn't any good anymore. Like, I could tell the difference.
When they brought along Paul Tibbet in 2008, you could see a different, like a shift in the quality.
Well, that was because the creator, Steven Hillenburg, he wanted the movie to be the finale. But they were like, are you kidding me? This is like the greatest show ever made. We have to keep doing this.
Yeah, it's the definition of milking it, right?
So he stepped down, except for like, he was still a producer of it, I think. But he wasn't the showrunner anymore.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that changed. That's why people distinguish SpongeBob between the stuff before the movie and the stuff after the movie.
After the movie.
Because that was really where that sense of humor and just the style of the show started changing.
The film came out in 2004. I'm kind of with Nickelodeon on this one. The show definitely I think the show needed to go longer. 5 seasons.
Yeah. You know what? In a weird way, I think you're right. Because I think to a certain degree, we wouldn't appreciate SpongeBob if it wasn't for the fact that we knew how bad it became over time.
Yeah.
I don't think that we would think about it as a great show if it wasn't for the fact that it became a bad show.
Why can't TV shows just know when to end?
True. But that's a problem also for a lot of TV shows, especially for cartoons. I see this a lot for cartoons.
They go for
is
too
that
long.
when not just what they go for too long, but almost always when the showrunner steps down, there's a big shift in quality. Mm-hmm. Like it happened with Adventure Time when Pendleton Ward left and Andrew Mutton came in, and there were a bunch of fans who were like, this isn't really the same Adventure Time anymore. And then it happened with the Boondocks, I remember, when Aaron McGruder left. And like for one season, the very final, like season 4, it was like someone completely different. And everyone was like, this isn't the same show. How do you get it this wrong? This quickly?
Did you know that Scarlett Johansson was in the SpongeBob movie?
What? Oh, she played, what was her name? Mindy?
Yeah, the daughter.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think
grossed over 140 million worldwide.
Dude, I remember seeing it in theaters.
I think I had a bootleg DVD we watched it on. You want to talk about movies that have aged well? That movie has aged phenomenally well.
That's also a good example of how frequently SpongeBob would just ignore continuity.
Yeah, because there's no references to the film in the rest of the show,
There's no references
right?
to the film, and there's also like Goofy Goober never existed prior to that.
Yeah.
And Neptune was a totally different character.
Uh-huh. And we never saw him leave Bikini Bottom again, unless it was in another movie. So moving on.
You got one last thing to do?
I got 2 more, but I'll cut it down to 1.
All right.
This is another Nickelodeon show.
All right.
I'm gonna see. Can you guess it?
Another Nickelodeon show? Give me a year or era or time period.
Mid 2000s.
Okay, that doesn't narrow it down in the slightest. Was it Fairly Odd Parents?
No, it wasn't Fairly Odd Parents.
Give me a hint.
I don't know if I can give you a hint without.
Is
just
it
giving
Chalk
away.
Zone?
Yeah, it's Chalk. It's actually Rocket Power. Rocket Power.
Really?
What do you think of Rocket Power? Just real quick.
Rocket Power.
Do you
I
remember
brought
much
that
of
up
Rocket
earlier,
Power?
didn't I? Didn't I brought that up earlier?
Yeah, you did.
Rocket Power. So that's a great
That was around
show.
the same time as I think that was around the same time as Rugrats,
Yeah.
like that mid '90s, late '90s.
What I loved about the show was that there was a character who was always filming stuff.
Yeah,
And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a filmmaker, and
you
I always
wanted
had
to
a
be that
camera.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
remember
loved
that show was so
BMX as well,
cool.
so I love that show. Yeah.
I remember thinking that show was so cool, and then we went to watch the intro, and I was like, "This show looks stupid."
That's the problem with that studio, whatever it's called, Calypsy, whatever the friggin' name of it is. I have no idea what it's called.
The power of nostalgia couldn't blind me enough
I know,
to think
seriously.
that Rocket Power was a world-breaking cartoon. Anyways, on to my last show, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Of course.
Earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed.
Yeah,
when
we
the
have to
Fire
mention
Nation
it.
attacked.
It is the perfect blend of it's the perfect blend of anime meeting the plots of American cartoon, like the content of American cartoons. And it's not even I think calling it a cartoon is kind of an insult. I would say it's an animated show, which, that's just me like trying to be
Fancy.
pretentious.
Yeah. No, I'd call it a cartoon. It's a cartoon.
But I mean, it is
Avatar.
one of the
You know what's so weird about Avatar? It's hard to say it's definitive of anything because nothing has really been like it since. Other than
nobody is
Legend of
really
Korra.
everybody's kind of a lot of shows after Avatar, especially kids shows, kind of started blending more of the adult themes within their kids shows.
Yeah. But
And
I mean, like,
no show has produced content or had the content like Avatar, where it's this 3-season. There's an actual plot
it's
structure
complete.
to
Yeah.
each episode. It's not like an anthology series or anything like that. You actually have to watch every single episode.
Yeah.
And
I
can't think of any other show in kids animation especially that has done that.
The only shows for me that come close to being similar to Avatar are Samurai Jack and the Clone Wars. Just in terms of like being a straight drama series with a story arc, I still think that Avatar kind of stands on its own. As people like to say, it's because it's an important show, but like I said, what's so weird is that nothing has really been like it since. People have been like taking the elements of drama and action
And
but
comedy.
but nobody has done like a full, complete, story of a show outside of like a mini series, like Over the Garden Wall. But Samurai Jack is probably the only thing even remotely similar to Avatar, and Legend of Korra, which is basically just a sequel. But
It also deals with a lot of heavy stuff too. And you don't
yeah.
see that in a lot of shows. We have to deal with these themes of genocide and all the isms, racism, classism, sexism,
yeah,
totalitarianism, and there's themes of
said that well.
pacifism and abuse, discrimination, stuff like that. Like there's so many heavy themes that are present in the show, which, if you're a young kid watching it for the first time, maybe you don't pick up on it. But when you rewatch it now, it's like, oh, I saw what you're like. I remember. I don't know if you remember, but do you remember that episode when they go to Kyoshi Island?
Yes.
And Zuko, or not Zuko, Sokka.
Yeah.
Sokka's like, in the first couple episodes, he's super sexist.
Yeah.
Until he gets to Kyoshi Island, and then he learns like, okay, maybe women can do what men can do, and I think that is an important lesson that I think kids need to learn, and that's why it's aged so well. It's because
there's
we still deal with a lot of
character
these
arcs,
and there's actual character arcs. Yeah, like Zuko. It also shows that, especially in Zuko, that we can always escape our past, and we can always atone for our past mistakes and
Mm.
move forward with our lives, and we're not bound to one, destiny, I guess, for better lack of a better word.
That would probably be the best word.
And it was only 3 seasons, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to talk about shows that ended on their peak, Avatar's one of those shows. 61 episodes across 3 seasons. And to do all of this in 23-minute runtimes?
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Seriously. Okay.
A show like this shouldn't exist, but it does.
An amendment to something I said earlier, now that you've brought it up, Gravity Falls is probably the show that comes closest to taking that, having a complete story arc and a certain number of, they have 2 seasons, I think, but they tell a complete story arc across the show. So that show is similar. But I'll say this. Where I think Avatar really succeeded is that it still manages to be a cartoon. And I mean that in terms of like, it's still a cartoon. Yeah, it's still a kid show. Compare it to like, I still compare it to something like the Clone Wars. I don't know if you ever saw that, the 3D animated Clone Wars series.
Yeah, a couple of
because that's a show that deals with all the same themes of genocide and murder and death and even pacifism you brought up specifically. But that show was so dark and messed up, and like people straight up died, and so it like doesn't have that like
innocence.
Yeah, that innocence, and people aren't really, Star Wars fans will talk about it for ages, but accessibility that Avatar gets because it manages to stay cartoony. And I think that's a big plus in the series as well.
Characters like Sokka and Toph, while they have their straight edges, they are at their core funny characters. Like they deal with and that's another thing about this.
Oh yeah.
This cast too that I'm thinking about, this ensemble, is every character has depth to them. Even the villain, even like Azula.
Yeah.
Or Zuko's girlfriend, May. They all have depth to them. They're not all as deep as, the main group, but every main character that we... Like, even Jet. You remember Jet? Yeah, Jet has a lot of depth for being in 2 episodes. So I think it's really remarkable that they were able to to give characters so much depth in a 22-minute runtime. Like, that's...
And here's what's even more insane. The fact that Avatar was so unlike everything else and did everything it did perfectly well. Had almost no mistakes in terms of how it told its story.
I don't know if you could say there's a flaw of it.
Maybe too short.
But even then, if you watch the whole show, it works.
Yeah.
We're not, like a lot of shows towards the end, they start to rush things. Like, that's why the penultimate episode and the final episode are always an hour and a half long when they should be an hour.
Yeah, they're always like that.
Or they do the thing where the final season is split into 2 because they need to write more episodes or something. This show didn't do that. It maintained its 22-minute runtime throughout, and it never cut seasons in half the way that traditional TV does.
It is very well paced.
It is extremely well paced.
The reason why it has stood up when it came on Netflix, the reason why I think so many people watched it and binge watched it was not just because of the nostalgia, but just because it lends itself to binge watching.
Yeah, 22 minutes, you can watch 3 episodes in an hour. 20 episodes an hour, that takes you about 6.5 hours to finish. So, I mean, theoretically, if you're not doing anything for a weekend, you can finish the show in a weekend.
I think I watched season 2 in like a day.
Yeah, I remember when I bought so I have the discs and I bought them, and I remember I was living with, who was I living with? I was living with somebody sophomore year of college, and we binge watched all of season 1. I think we started at noon and we finished at like 9. But that's because we were also watching the intros, and we stopped to get lunch halfway through, or to eat halfway through. So, but I mean, this show is it's like the prototypical bingeable show.
It's the benchmark. is like the benchmark, basically.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I'm not English. I wasn't an English major.
Oh, but you remember foil, but you don't know specific word you're looking for.
I don't even paid attention sometimes.
All
Speaking of Netflix, it was on the top 10. So you know how Netflix has the top 10 list that they put on their homepage? It was on the top 10 for 60 straight days.
That's what I'm saying. It's so like it lent itself to just binge watching so easily, and that's all Netflix is about. I have no doubt. So many people were like, "You gotta watch this. You gotta watch this."
That's crazy.
It's insane.
Because a lot of even
It
Netflix's
really
own
is.
shows, they'll be in the top 10 for like a week, maybe 2,
Yeah.
and then they'll fall off
Yeah,
because people are
pretty
done
much.
watching it. But the fact that Avatar was on there for 2 months. Okay, so I do want to make an amendment to what I said earlier. The first episode was an hour long.
Yeah, it was like
Other
a
than that,
special.
yeah,
kind of-
other than that, every episode was 22 minutes.
Now, wait, was the episode actually an hour long, or did they do the thing where they took the first and the second episode and they aired them as one long episode?
That's I want to
Some shows do
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. A
Yeah,
lot of
so
shows
episode-
do that.
so it's
I would say
really
that's probably what they did.
Episode 1 and 2 back to back, but they included it as one. So they premiered it together as one episode,
Yeah.
but it's really
Okay.
episode 1 and
I had
2.
a feeling.
Because they did the same thing for the finale. I think they did a 2-hour, and it was like 4 episodes. It was the last 4 episodes back to back to back to back.
Have you seen Legend of Korra?
No, I have not. Speaking of the finale, 5.59 million viewers on
That's
Nickelodeon.
impressive. That's impressive.
That's a lot. So Avatar got 5.9 million for its finale. Just to reference, people are like, "Oh, 5.9 million. That's not a lot of people. That's like half the people of LA." Breaking Bad hit 10.3. So it did half of Breaking Bad while being a cartoon, while being a kids show on a kids network.
That is actually pretty wild.
And it's it compared to the what was it, like hour and 10 that Breaking Bad had.
It was 2 hours.
Oh, it was a 2-hour for Breaking Bad?
Oh, no. Breaking Bad was an hour and a half. Avatar was 2 hours.
Avatar was 2 hours, yeah. So the fact that you had 5
Yeah.
point something million people watching a 2-hour show,
That's insane.
that just shows how big of a deal Avatar was. But going back to your point about Korra, no, I haven't seen Korra. I heard it's a good sequel, not a great sequel to Avatar. I've seen like clips here and there. I don't really have a desire to go see Korra.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's not.
To me,
You
Avatar
can skip
ended,
it, more or less.
and everything beyond Avatar is kind of like just up to my imagination of how I know they came out with the comics.
Comics.
I haven't
Yeah.
read the comics.
I was just going to say, considering how successful Avatar was, it's kind of a miracle that they didn't milk it dry for everything. Outside
Well,
of the comics,
funny you
the
say
comics,
that. Go ahead about the comics.
Korra, and the movie.
I don't want to talk about the movie. The movie doesn't exist. Yeah, I think there was only 3 comics because you really could have made, to the end of Aang's life,
Yeah.
a comic book series, but they didn't.
But-
They just kind of did it. I think it was about Zuko's mom, right?
Yeah.
They were looking for Zuko's mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They are coming out with a Netflix live action remake, which I have mixed feelings on. Did you know about that?
Yes, I did know about that, and I have. I'm indifferent.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't the original creators, I would be
True.
like, this is stupid. But because it's the original creators and they're trying to do a different spin on the story,
I think
I'm into it.
part of my issue is that I'm so over like bad live action versions of old cartoon
you talking about,
and childhood material.
whoa, bro, Lion King is the greatest movie of all time, and I will not stand for
I
the
was thinking
slander.
about specifically TV shows like Riverdale and stuff like that.
Well, Riverdale is the greatest show of all time, and I will not stand for this slander.
Yeah. I'm like,
Bro, remember,
I'm so
you've never had the highs and lows of high school football.
shut up. Yes, I have never experienced the epic highs and lows of high school football, and if that's what it's like, then I don't think I want to. Jesus Christ, that's now you know why I'm worried. I don't want Zuko to be like, I'm a weirdo. I have this scar. I'm weird.
I sold
People don't like weird people.
What does that convict say? I sold drugs to provide for my grandma or something like that. Oh, this show is so stupid.
Dumb. So that's why I'm worried.
Yeah, I mean, just
That's
like I
why
said,
I'm
I have mixed feelings. So
Yeah,
I'm definitely
I'm
not in
tentative.
I'm gonna watch it day one. I mean, I probably will watch it day one, but
I'm not going to. I'm gonna see if it's the greatest thing ever, and then I will.
well, it's Netflix. Everything on Netflix is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah,
That's what people who watch a lot of Netflix say.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Any last thoughts on Avatar?
It's a good show.
Yeah,
It's on. Is it still on Netflix?
bold take. Yes, and so is Korra.
All right.
It's also on Paramount.
So if you
but don't
haven't
give your
seen
money
it-
to Paramount.
Yeah, the worst run studio in Hollywood.
Yeah,
Go watch it if you haven't. Honestly.
yeah.
If nothing, watch Avatar. If you don't care for any other show here, watch Avatar.
Yeah. I think Avatar is definitely the cream of the crop of the shows that we mentioned. I want to give you some before we go honorable mentions.
Okay.
These are shows that I think
Oh yeah,
they're
I have some as well.
they're still like quality shows and they're definitely influential, but I don't think they're influential for us to spend an hour and a half talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through a list and just give me your thoughts.
Okay.
Flintstones,
Never cared. Never watched it.
interesting.
Too
okay,
old.
I put it on there because it's one of the very first animated shows. I would agree with you that it hasn't aged
Yeah.
very well, especially because they tried to milk it with the live action movies. Looney Tunes, you have the same opinion.
Looney Tunes? No, I think Looney Tunes has some. I definitely appreciate the older and the new Looney Tunes that they're coming out with. I definitely
Mhm.
appreciate that stuff too.
Yeah, they're good.
I mean,
Like 5 minute when they do like the interludes in between shows and they show like a clip of Looney
Yeah.
Tunes. I think
yeah.
that is Looney Tunes.
What I appreciate about Looney Tunes a lot is just how freaking creative they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with like,
Like
Roadrunner and Coyote.
every little skit, not just that, but every little skit, it has some gag that I'm like, I never would have thought of that in my
yeah,
life.
definitely.
You could give me, literally inject me with creativity, and I probably never would have thought of that joke. And that's what I appreciate about Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes is weird because they were such a popular show and they kind of have fallen by the wayside to a degree.
Well, I think it's just more so the, yeah. I mean, they never really gave themselves the, like how with Scooby-Doo we were talking about how there are new iterations every so years.
Mhm.
Looney Tunes just never did that for itself, and I think
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
that's
Because
why
even
it's kind of
even
just
like
considered an old thing.
Mickey Mouse and Disney,
Yeah, true.
they would do that. They would
They-
always come out with new
yeah.
iterations. And that's why they're
True.
Disney is still Mickey Mouse is still a popular character like that.
Yeah,
But-
true.
Tom and Jerry?
Yes, Tom and
Tom
Jerry.
and Jerry, yeah. That's another show
The
where
best. The GOAT.
that is we were talking about how Looney Tunes has the skits. Tom and
Yeah.
Jerry is right up
They-
there with
they
Looney
have the
Tunes as far
skits.
as how quality their skits are. And there's no talking besides human characters.
That's what is the best thing.
Yeah, which a lot of TV shows they have talking animals now, but back then they didn't even think about it or something, or it was part of the
Yeah.
concept of the show. But it works really well to its favor, so I'm very happy for that. King of the Hill.
King of the Hill. Ooh, that's actually a really good one to bring up. King of the Hill is one of those shows that I honestly, as I've gotten older, I've actually now understand King of the Hill. Because I would catch
you
it.
appreciate
on,
propane more and more.
Yeah, I appreciate propane more and more. Yeah, no, that's just one of those things that as a kid I probably never. I watched it because I was like, this is what adults watch, and I want to watch
Yeah.
stuff like that. But now I'm older, and I'm like, oh, I get that.
Yeah, it's one
I
of the
see what they're
grandfathers of
saying.
adult animation for sure.
I get pocket sand. Yeah, I get stuff like that.
Speaking of adult animation, Simpsons.
Simpsons. Never watched it.
Huh. Not even like
Never watched it.
the holiday specials?
I watched the movie. I think
everybody watched the movie.
And I watched like a handful of Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Interesting. Okay.
But I actually never grew up with. I never watched The Simpsons.
I've only watched a couple
But I
episodes
appreciate
as well.
it.
I think it was worth mentioning just because, this is why we have shows like Rick and Morty, Archer, Family Guy.
And Family Guy, and yeah, The Simpsons did it first, man.
Yeah.
Simpsons did it first.
We mentioned Samurai Jack a little bit, so we won't have to talk about that one. Kim Possible.
Great show. Yes, I was actually just before we started recording. I was thinking about like last minute stuff to add to my list. I was gonna add Kim Possible. I love that show. So
Yeah,
much.
it's a good show. It's very. I was watching clips. I've been watching clips the other day, and I'm surprised at how well it's aged, especially because it's that older, like early 2000s kind of shows, and a lot
Yeah,
of shows
for
from the
sure.
early 2000s didn't age well.
But part of the problem was that it's a good show, and even I remember being back in high school and finding rips of it on YouTube and watching it and being like, "Ooh, this still holds up." But it didn't influence me really in any creative way.
No,
other than
I don't
just
think it
liking Kim.
it didn't change anything. I mean, it's one of Disney's biggest animated shows, but I don't think
Yeah,
it wasn't a flagpole show like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse or
Yeah.
anything.
yeah,
Because I think Disney decided to opt more towards the live action shows versus animated.
sadly.
So I don't
yeah.
think Kim Possible, while people who watch Kim Possible still have that, they enjoy
they
it.
still love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it has that main cultural icon like Zack and Cody or Wizards of Waverly Place.
Friggin' Zach. And Cody. Oh, wow.
We should do a show on just DComs, like Disney Channel original movies, the live action shows. That'd be fun.
What do you know about Stuck in the Suburbs?
So another adult show, Futurama.
Rock. Okay, when you bring out The Simpsons, I've never seen The Simpsons and I don't really care much
You
for it,
watch a
but I
lot of
do like
Futurama, right?
Futurama.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I still like Matt Groening and his general humor style, and I liked Futurama a lot.
So he went from
That was
Simpsons to Futurama, or he did both at the same time?
He did both at the same time.
Dang. Okay.
He was really just a producer for Futurama, in the same way that like Seth MacFarlane just produces Cleveland Show and American Dad.
Yeah, he just lends his name to the shows.
Yeah,
I got you.
he did. Matt Groening
Didn't he
did
do
the same
something
thing
before
for Futurama.
too? Or was Simpsons his first?
Before what? Oh, The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I remember there was Simpsons, Futurama, and there's one more, right? He did one
there
more.
was one more, and I don't remember what it
Yeah.
was actually.
Oh, Disenchantment. He came out with Disenchantment.
Oh yeah. Well, okay.
Which
I was
is
thinking that
the
there was
Netflix
an older
show.
one that he did, but yeah, he
No.
does Disney.
Well, I don't know. I don't see
Maybe I'm
anything.
misremembering.
Yeah, Disenchantment's the Netflix show that people kind of have love-hate
Yeah.
relationship with.
Mm.
It's okay. It's nothing great. All right. Ed and Eddie.
So, like I said earlier, my mom forbade me from watching that show.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
She
I do remember you
hated
saying
Ed
that.
and Eddie.
You didn't
That
like Ed
being
and Eddie?
said, I watched it when I could. When
Of
she
course,
wasn't around.
as one does.
And Ed and Eddie is another great show.
Yeah, it's another
Talk
one of
about
those.
unique.
I would actually argue it is super unique in its art style.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe not
So
in
crazy.
its content, but the 2D animation and the absurdity of how the bodies move and stuff like that.
Yeah, seriously.
It's definitely very unique, and I think it's one of Cartoon Network's biggest shows, especially in the 2000s.
Oh yeah.
It made
true.
Cartoon Network into what it is.
Yeah, that and stuff like Billy and Mandy. And
Yeah, Billy and Mandy, another one.
freaking Foster's Home.
Foster's Home's
Powerpuff
another
Girls.
one. Powerpuff Girls.
Hey, what do you think of the live action Powerpuff Girls they're doing?
Is that a thing?
That is a thing.
Why?
That's what I said.
No, I hate that. That's
And guess who is
stupid.
producing it? I think maybe it's not producing, but casting. I don't know. Same people who did Riverdale, basically.
Ah. You've never experienced the highs and lows of high school football.
Shut up.
Batman the Animated
Anyway.
Series?
Dude, hell yeah.
Have you seen that one?
So which one?
The original,
The original?
not Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond 2
I
is
was gonna
another.
say Batman Beyond.
Yeah, Batman Beyond is another honorable
Batman
mention.
Beyond, Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yep.
Batman.
Yeah, that whole run of mid 2000s Batman shows is
yeah,
pretty.
This stuff is so good.
Yeah, that stuff is pretty
I love
quality.
that stuff.
As far as superhero animated shows, yeah. That's where DC
I
needs to
would
spend a lot of
say-
their money, right? Is animated, because even their animated movies are so good.
I mean, okay, the Batman shows are good. Nothing compares to Teen Titans or Young Justice.
No, and that was gonna be another one I was gonna
In my
name. It
opinion.
was Teen Titans.
Those two shows are
It's a
Avatar
travesty what
quality.
they did with Teen Titans Go.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't really care about that because I never watched it. But the original Teen Titans is like on par with Avatar, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Any other honorable mentions you have?
Nonetheless.
Those are the only ones I have.
I had Billy and Mandy.
Yeah.
I had
Quality.
yeah, that I like that show. Yeah. I don't really like gross out humor, but I liked Billy and Mandy.
Just how absurd it is.
Yeah. I had Billy and Mandy, I had Phineas and Ferb as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, that's another one. I missed that one. Yeah. Phineas and Ferb. That might be the oldest or the newest cartoon that I actually watched.
That is of quality.
That is of quality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it came out. This is how you know. I remember I've watched too much Disney Channel. I remember it premiered after, so it bled into High School Musical 2. High School Musical 2 came out after High School Musical 2 premiered.
You know what's hilarious? I remember watching the premiere of High School Musical 2 and I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it came out. I remember because it was a big thing because it was Ashley Tisdale, so they were trying to market it as like, oh, Ashley Tisdale's in a new project.
That's hilarious.
Because I remember, yeah, the
I didn't even
marketing
know
behind
that.
this show was super huge for a Disney Channel show. And I remember being like, wow, that's interesting that they're doing interviews with voice actors. But I think it became one of the most definitive shows of the 2010s.
And I also had Codename Kids Next Door.
Codename
and
Kid Next Door.
Flapjack. Yeah.
I've never seen Flapjack.
That's a
Codename Kid
great
Next
show.
Door, I remember. I remember I'd play the games on Cartoon Network.
Oh my. Oh yeah, the games for that.
And
show
they were
so
always
good.
on. See, this is how you know Cartoon Network back in the day knew what they were doing. They were always, as soon as I got home at 4 o'clock, 4:30 was Codename Kid Next Door. So that'd be the first thing I would do when I get home, is turn on Cartoon Network.
Flapjack was pretty good, and did I say Foster's?
Yeah, you said Foster's.
Yeah, Foster's.
Foster's was good.
Yeah.
I
Foster's
still
was good.
remember
Oh yeah.
the premiere of Foster's.
Oh, I do too. Yeah. That was another thing where they did 2 episodes and
Yeah.
they put them together.
Any others?
Oh god. I mean, I could sit here all
Yeah,
day and
no.
just name
I was just
shows
wondering
that
if you
I
had
like.
any more on the top of your head. I can't think of any more.
All good shows though. But really the ones that influenced me, the ones that I really wanted to bring up, Chowder, One Piece, Aqua Teen, SpongeBob I threw up there, yeah. Just in terms of like, because I can like literally trace my sense of humor
To those shows.
back to those shows. Yeah.
I think everybody can really. It's how did you grow up?
Either my sense of humor or just like my creative sensibilities in general. Like One Piece really influenced my art style. Aqua Teen, Hunger Force really influenced my willingness to do things that didn't make any sense. All good shows.
Yeah, all very.
Except for the bad ones, but we don't talk about those.
They do not. We don't mention bad things on our podcast. We only talk about good things.
Yeah, that's why next episode we're going to talk about the Scooby-Doo movie. No, I'm joking.
Dude, you need to go back and rewatch those. At least that first one.
No, I
It
don't.
is pure fan service, but it's
is.
so funny.
It really is.
I don't know. I enjoy
Maybe
it.
that's why I didn't like it.
So that ends our discussion on cartoons and I guess animation as a whole. We kind of went into this with cartoons, but we talked a little bit about anime and older shows. Any last word to the folks?
Watch Avatar if you haven't.
Watch Avatar if you haven't. You could run a political campaign on that slogan.
People will get it confused with the James Cameron movie, though.
That's why you got to say The Last Airbender.
True,
The
true.
show, not the movie. Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in next week. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, follow us on our Instagrams, subscribe to us on YouTube to get those updates. Until then, we'll
Yes.
see you guys next week.